Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Project Egg Show. Today, we have the honor of speaking with Magnus Unemyr, a gentleman with 25 years of experience in senior positions in the global software industry, including Vice President of Sales and Marketing, Product Manager, Product Marketing Manager, Content Manager, Project Manager, and a long time ago software developer. He has also co-founded a successful suite of software tools in the semiconductor chip and Internet of Things market and built a global distributor network covering some 50 countries. Over the past few years, he's focused on creating leading-edge marketing strategies using some of the world's most advanced marketing automation tools. These tools dramatically increase the capacity of small and mid-sized businesses to establish a global brand presence, increase leads and conversions, and dramatically amplify their marketing efforts. On top of that, Magnus is also an author of multiple books and also has an online course out there. So it's safe to say that he is an expert in marketing automation and AI. How are you doing today, Magnus?
Hello, Ben. Thank you very much for inviting me to the show.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. Let's jump right in. What is your story?
So I actually started out as a software developer 25 years ago, or I think it's now even more than 25 years ago. And I found it really interesting to work with advanced software. But quite quickly, I realized that it was more interesting to talk about the software I were developing and join the marketing team and the sales team on trips and visit customers and try to convince the customers that our software products were the right one with the sufficient amount of technologies to solve the problem. So only after a couple of years, I actually started to slowly move over from the software development side of things to the marketing department. And for the last 20 years or so, I have had different types of job descriptions in the marketing side of the international software industry.
Let's jump back into your childhood. Mm-hmm. What did it smell like?
I think that I was quite often outdoors, and in particular in the summers, we were, me and my friends were, running around in the nearby forest and stuff and building, forest houses or tree houses, I think you call it in the US. So my childhood years, mostly memories of, in terms of smell, is mostly, summer in the forest or summer in the garden, I think.
What was your relationship like with your parents growing up?
Very good. They were small business owners and we had a small family business, and I started to help them at the age of 10 or 11, I think. And in the later teenage years, I started to help them with internet marketing and worked after school doing their website and started what probably was one of the first web shops or e-commerce sites in Sweden at the end of the 1990s even, so it was quite early. So I took an active part in the small family business and helped them, which was quite fun at the time.
What sort of businesses were they?
They were actually importing engraving machines and laser marking machines, so kind of small-scale industrial machinery for sign manufacturing and stuff like that.
So when you were helping them out at 10 years old, when you were young,
helping them out a little bit at least, trying to.
How do you think that shaped your self-identity, your view of self?
Quite a lot. I never really liked being in the enterprise kind of large companies. I've been working internationally for almost 2 decades, but I've always felt more interested in working for fairly small companies. So let's say 10, 20 or 30 employees perhaps, because it feels so much more natural and familiar. More friendships grow, I think, between the colleagues, and it's not so much office politics. So I think that that shaped me quite a lot, and it gave me the work ethics to work very hard, and that you need to work hard to gain the sweets from that work. But I never really liked very much to work in very large companies, and perhaps that is one of the reasons.
When y'all would sit down at the dinner table, What would you talk about? What were some of those values that were instilled in you when you were young?
Values, I'm not so sure, but I commonly talk about traveling. I love traveling and I love cooking as well. So you will probably find me talking about different countries, cultures, exotic places, fantastic tropical islands I've been to, or asking other people about their travel advice. So I'm quite often talking about traveling, in particular to Southeast Asia, and cooking, I think.
Where did those two passions come from?
I've always loved traveling. My parents traveled a lot as we were quite young, but I've always been traveling since I was old enough to decide for myself. I think I've been to well over 50 countries by now, and I just love seeing new cultures and new countries and meet new people.
And what about the cooking? Where did that passion come from?
I'm actually crap in cooking. I'm not really good, but I like doing it. And I think as I have been working very, very hard at times for well over a decade, I put in maybe 12, 14 hours a day. And I was really stressed out, and I couldn't really relax my brain. And I found that cooking is the perfect combination of not having to think too much to do it, but you need to think a little bit and focus a little bit on it, such that the brain can actually relax thinking about work stuff. So cooking just had the right balance of you need to focus a little bit, such that you don't think about work, but it's not so much thinking that it becomes tiring for the brain after a full day's work.
So as you're growing up and you're working in your family business or
Mhm.
businesses, uh, what were some of those other activities that you do? Like, what were some of your hobbies growing up?
I was very interested in computers, even as at the age of 15. I started to import IBM PC clones from Southeast Asia. So I had a fairly good uh, PC computer import business, whereby I sold a lot of Windows PCs to actually pre Windows time, so MS DOS computers. So I sold it to small business owners, neighbors and stuff, and made a fairly good money for being a 15-year-old, just importing cheap computers from Hong Kong, because at that point in time, I think the price was twice or even three times as high in Sweden compared to in Southeast Asia. And I think that was when I learned international business, even though it was on a fairly small scale.
So it seems like once you started working in the family business, like business became your thing. Like that really caught your attention. Why was it? Why did it catch your attention? Like, why has it been something that you've stuck with for so long and you put in so many hours and you've worked the 12 to 14-hour days ever since you were, 10 or
Because I
15?
like to build things. I like to to grow a company, secure the future of a company. Being able to help employ more people to make sure they get a living. I also wanted to put my city or my country on the map in terms of high tech development. So I always liked working on the most advanced high tech stuff there was. So I have been in the microprocessor semiconductor chip industry for 2 decades more or less, and I've been developing microprocessor chips more or less, or I was part of a team that developed a microprocessor or a CPU chip. I've been developing software development tools that is used to develop electronics, and I was quite active in the launch of Bluetooth 20 years ago or something like that. So I've always loved working with the most advanced technology there is.
So let's talk about that chronology
Mm.
of how did you get into tech and what were some of those big milestones that you hit, like helping to launch Bluetooth? That's a huge milestone. I'd love to talk about that. How many other milestones like that were there? Maybe you could take us through the chronology, the progression of them.
So I started at university, and then I studied electronics design or electronic engineering and software development. So I'm actually an electronic engineer or software developer at heart, or from university years. But I started to work on software that was used to help engineers develop the next generation electronics. And I did that for 20 years. Part of that was helping Ericsson at the time to do some software tools around Bluetooth that would help them launch Bluetooth as a world standard more efficiently. So I was working as a product manager for some Bluetooth development tools 20 years ago. Then a decade later, I became a co-owner of a company that set out to design a new microprocessor chip for encryption algorithms. So new biometric passports, for example, or new smart cards, or more secure bank cards, for example. And that morphed into the Internet of Things space, where I started to work more actively with tools to help develop the internet-connected devices. But over the last 20 years or so, I've still been on the marketing side of these industries, not as an engineer, though.
So when you went into university, did you always know that you were going to go into technology, or how did you make that decision as far as what to focus your time on and what to study?
So my dad was an engineer, and I was very, very interested in programming and computers as a teenager. So I always thought I would be an engineer or a software developer, and it was quite natural. So it was more a surprise that I ended up in the marketing side of things, I think, because engineering or software development was the natural, roadmap of my life, I think. But I ended up in marketing, surprisingly.
What drew you to marketing after those years, after that, studying so much, learning so much about software development and being on the engineering side? What really drew you to the marketing side? Where did that passion come from?
It's in the marketing side that we shape the new products. It's in the marketing side we survey the market and find out what kind of products is of interest, what products can help, what products will succeed, and if so, which kind of capabilities should those products have? How can we make a product more competitive versus the competition? And I found it more interesting to plan out the future developments or the roadmap of products, as opposed to just staring into the screen and write the code to build the products. So I like more of a visionary side of it, and invent the future rather than just being the engineer who do what they are told.
So at this point in your career, I mean, you've done a ton of things. You've worked in a variety of different roles. You're co-founder of a successful company. You've written, I believe at least 5 different books.
5, yeah.
Can you talk about, because we talked a little bit about where you came from, but can you talk about where you are now? Like, it's, looking from the outside in, sometimes it's hard to see the whole clear picture. So can you really give us a clear picture of exactly what you're doing now, exactly what your biggest focus is? And don't be afraid to brag a little bit and tell us how high you've really climbed.
We never brag. I think we reserve that for the US guys. So I will have to reverse the discussion a little bit, though. A couple of years ago, I left the company I helped co-found, and I was the vice president of sales and marketing for a decade, and built a global distributor network, for example, covering 50 countries, as you mentioned. But we were a small tech company with relatively limited financial resources, and we had a global market, so we couldn't really fly out to each and every potential customer and have sales meetings with them, because that was just not doable from resource point of view. So we started to use marketing automation quite extensively to help market our own products, and that was a good fit, because I'm very interested in marketing, and we were a software and tech company, so we had very high software skills, but we were also doing internet marketing, and marketing automation is the perfect combination of software and marketing. So I kind of joined the 2 fields, and that is a great fit for me. Since I left that company about a year and a half ago, then I wanted to do something different. So I set out to help other companies introduce marketing automation in their business, to help them grow and help them get more leads and nurture those leads automatically using robot software into paying customers. So now I am an independent consultant in terms of marketing automation and how to use artificial intelligence in automated marketing. And so I wrote a few books on on marketing, and the last book was about marketing with artificial intelligence. And I think that book has gained quite some interest because there really aren't that many books about this topic. Either they are very, very mathematical and marketers can't really understand them, or they are way too philosophical and don't really explain how to use AI from a real practical sense right now in a business. So I set out to write the book that was the perfect balance of both the technical side and the philosophical side, and try to provide a book that can help current marketeers to actually start using AI right now, rather than in the next decade or two.
So let's talk about that, because I think that is a very fascinating topic, is using marketing and AI, kind of joining the two, right? Like, where do you start? Where do you begin? How do you know, for example, with something like Project Egg, right? How would you first start to introduce marketing and AI into this ecosystem?
Yeah, so I think that it's not one answer to the question, because it depends so much about what company we talk about. Generally, I would like to say that most marketeers and most companies will not use AI in the sense that they have to develop their own AI software using mathematicians and software developers that handcraft custom designed AI algorithms for your particular company. Rather, most marketeers will just buy any piece of standard software, and that will have AI power or machine learning under the bonnet, so to speak. And whoever buys that piece of marketing software will perhaps not even be aware that the software is using AI to improve the efficiency of the tool. So just one example that is very easy to understand to most people is email marketing. So normally you would have a piece of email software that sends 100,000 emails at the same time, so a mail blast basically. But with AI, we can actually train the email software automatically based on data from previous email sending, and work out at what specific time of the day should each and every of the individual 100,000 recipients receive the email to have the highest open rate, or the highest chance of every person actually opening the email. So with an AI-powered email software, we will not send one mail blast that sends 100,000 emails at the same time, but we will send one email at 100,000 different times, each and every of them optimized for the right time to have it opened by each and every recipient. So we do a personalization, let's say.
So that's huge, because I mean, some people don't check email at a certain time. Like I was just telling you, I try not to turn on my phone for as long as possible in the mornings, just to make sure I have a clear head and, I get my morning started out right. But I mean, think of the implications of that. Like that seems like it's personalized, highly customizable per unit, I guess, or per customer, per prospect,
per person
automation. That's incredible. So how do you achieve that?
So basically we measure the digital footprint or the digital behaviors of each and every person. And if we don't have enough data, then we can find other people that have the same or similar characteristics, and then we can use data from those people. So for example, we can conclude that different types of people in different cities may generally open the emails in the morning, whereas in some other cities, perhaps they generally open it later in the day. But it's all data driven, and with a lot of data and with machine learning or AI, we can actually go from gut feeling to fact-based decisions, and the marketing software actually executes autonomous marketing decisions all by itself. And this is why some people are now starting to be a little bit scared about their job security due to AI and stuff.
So let's say you're a small business owner or a solopreneur, or you're just getting started, right? Mm-hmm. How do you tap into this insanely powerful AI and automation on a budget? Like,
it depends again on what you do. If you do any kind of e-commerce website or a web shop whereby you have many products, then I would start with AI-driven product recommendations. So whenever someone comes to a web shop or comes to a website, then there would be a product recommendation which is optimized or adapted for you specifically. And therefore, we can try to increase the level of additional sales by offering the right product to the right person at the right time. You could also start to use a chat robot, either integrate a chatbot in your website as kind of customer support or customer service, or you can use chatbots for marketing on Facebook Messenger nowadays. And some of these chatbots actually don't use AI at all, while some use AI to help improve the understanding of incoming texts or the incoming questions. And you can quite easily and very cheaply nowadays create a fairly simple chatbot and deploy it on your own website. It's not all that hard. The development tools to do it is actually free of charge.
So what it seems like is you need to, for your own business, identify the need, figure out like where do you want to apply this AI and automation, and then go and find software that's already doing it for you and blend them in. Is that kind of what?
Yeah, I mean, for example, I bought one of these smartphones the other week, the Google Home Mini, I think it's called. And it took me less than a day after unpackaging the box until I had extended the knowledge of that voice assistant or that chat, voice-based chat robot to make it understand my specific commands that related to my specific business, and made it answer in a particular way, and it could actually drive a conversation forward and ask follow-up questions that someone had to answer, and then the robot understood the answer and continued the discussion with forwards and backwards conversations. And it took me actually less than a day to do a very simple voice-based chat robot that I installed in the Google Home smart speaker. So it's not really that hard, to be honest.
Where do you see for entrepreneurs, especially aspiring and beginning entrepreneurs, where do you see the biggest opportunities for them to start leveraging AI? Like you mentioned, if you're in e-commerce, you can do, custom tailored product recommendations. You talked about having personalized email marketing automation, which you could probably go and get with a company. But what other levers can we pull in order to have the biggest impact in our businesses today?
So if you talk about stuff that is fairly usable by small and medium-sized companies, not really enterprise-grade stuff, I think there are still many things you can do. For example, most CRM systems today have something called lead scoring. Lead scoring is a way to guesstimate or calculate how sales-ready every particular lead is in the database. We usually do that by measuring the digital footprint or their behaviors. So did they or did they not visit that particular web page on our website? How many times? Did they open that email? Did they click a link in the email? How many times have they been to the website, and so forth? And each and every touch points they have with us is then recorded, and then we can create a very simple algorithm that works out how interested is this lead probably in buying soon compared to some other lead that have done other things. And you do that by just adding scores or adding some numbers for each activity. So downloading a PDF may give plus 10 points, and visiting, for example, any page on the website may give +1, except the pricing page that gives +5, because if someone comes to the pricing page, that is a stronger sales signal than visiting other pages. You get actually +5 points for visiting the pricing page. And so we can build simple algorithms that calculates a score that can help us tell us which leads are most likely to buy soon compared to the other ones. But now we can do a similar thing with AI technologies or predictive analytics, and we can actually train an AI software to automatically guess how sales ready different leads are in the database. So for example, I can say that Mr. Jones is 72% ready to buy, whereas Anne is 11% ready to buy, and some other guy is 52% ready to buy. And the AI software will then look at the digital behavior of actual paying customers we already have and compare their behaviors to the behaviors of new leads who are not yet customers. And dependent on the similarity in the behavior of a new lead versus the behavior of existing paying customers before they became customers, and the AI algorithm can work out that a new lead is perhaps 72% ready to buy or 11% ready to buy. And then that can trigger marketing automation logic. So whenever someone has a threshold of, let's say, 25% sales readiness, then we can let the marketing automation system send a sequence of sales messages or emails with a soft sales message. Whenever someone reaches 50% sales readiness, then that triggers the sending of 5 other emails with a harder sales message. And if someone reaches 75% sales readiness, then we don't send any email to the customer, but rather we send an email to the sales guy and ask him to make a manual sales call, because now this person is likely 75% ready to buy, and we stop automated marketing, and when we start to initiate real manual sales efforts instead. So we can do a lot of interesting things, and predictive lead scoring and that stuff is fairly common these days, and is available in many of the larger, more popular CRM systems, for example.
That's incredible. So it seems like we're kind of on the cusp here, where entrepreneurs, small business owners can achieve these incredible benefits of automation, these incredible advantages of automation and AI by leveraging software that's readily available to them.
Yeah, I mean, even something as simple as your normal email client. If you are using Gmail, then Gmail automatically recommends an answer, a quick reply to incoming email. So that is AI or something called NLU, natural language understanding, whereby the Google Gmail client or email program reads incoming emails, understands pretty much what the email is about, and automatically create a short answer that you can send away with just a quick question, a quick click. And so even in something simple as the email client, you have AI today, or there are AI tools that analyze your blog posts and find out how you should edit them to make them rank better on Google, for example. And those tools do that by analyzing perhaps 10,000 blog posts on the same topic, and finds out the similarities between the blog posts that are top 5 or top 10 on Google, and then tell you what did these blog posts do that the others didn't, which probably is the reason why they are at a top 5 position at Google, and then tells you how you should edit your blog post to match that, and hopefully then also get into the top 5 list on Google. So you can use AI I would say that in my latest book, I listed 100 or 200 different usages of AI. And when I tell people that I work with marketing with AI, people say, okay, chatbots. Most people would say that chatbots and AI in marketing is the same thing. But actually chatbots is just a very, very small corner of how you can use AI in marketing. And I would say that chatbots is perhaps 1% or 2% of the use cases for AI in marketing.
What are some examples of companies who are really taking advantage of AI and are like shining examples of what we as entrepreneurs should be aspiring to as far as use of AI and effectively leveraging the technology that we have? Because we talked about some things that AI can do, but like, who's an example? And maybe you could dive into like what they're doing specifically that's like, wow, this is the top-notch use of AI today.
So I'm not actually sure which companies do exactly what in terms of just buying technology and using it. I more have a better knowledge about what the technology vendors are and what they offer. So for example, in the CRM space, obviously Salesforce have a lot of AI technologies in their products, and Adobe have some high-end marketing products that uses a lot of AI. But actually the AI space is mostly a large number of startups. There are hundreds and hundreds of startups doing really innovative things with marketing using AI. And I think what is happening now is that the large marketing software vendors are playing catch up, and they actually just start to buy all the new startups because they don't invent enough themselves. So what we see is a consolidation, I think, in the AI tools market, and the big vendors like HubSpot or Salesforce or Adobe just start to buy a lot of these innovative small AI companies.
Where do you see the future of AI going?
So AI will be used by every marketer on the planet within 2-3 years. Since even every Gmail user are using AI already, but they aren't aware of it. And similarly, marketers who use AI now and in the future will not be aware there is AI technologies under the hood or under the bonnet. So it will work its way into pretty much every piece of marketing software on the market. There are currently some 7,000 different marketing software vendors on the market, and I think roughly 1,000 of them already have some kind of AI technologies built into their software products. So we will see it everywhere, and what will happen is that it will automate boring work tasks. So any kind of repetitive work task will be automated. Any kind of data analysis will be automated, and any kind of decision making based on that data analysis will be automated. So if I were a marketeer mostly involved in analyzing data and making decisions based on that data, then I would be very worried. For example, there are some really innovative tools in autonomous ad purchase. So you can buy or rent an AI robot that takes care of your ad budget, and you register a credit card in the tool, and it starts to buy digital ads for you using your credit card, and it spends the budget on Google AdWords or Facebook ads, for example, and then it measures all the time which ad graphics works in which channel at what time towards what audience, and when it shifts the budget and spend less for this kind of ads and start to spend more here, and it all the time in real time is optimizing the budget for a better return of investment. And no human being would be able to do that and change the ad spending strategy every minute or every hour, 24/7. So for example, that is one area where I think the AI will remove a lot of jobs. It's in digital ad purchase.
So let's talk about that a little bit specifically, because I think that's fascinating, and I want to drill down. So it seems like clearly the AI and the automation can analyze and split test and make micro adjustments better than a human can, for sure, without a doubt.
Yeah.
But how will the AI will the AI be writing the copy, be choosing the graphics to test? Like, how will it be building
choosing the graphics for sure. Writing the copy, probably not in a few years. Eventually it will, but not for the next few years. But choosing the graphics, yes, that is that exists already, but it will be commonplace, I think, in 3 to 5 years' time.
And how about like building a sales funnel? Like, how far away are we from an AI or an automation software being able to build out, test, and scale successfully a marketing funnel?
There are already tools that do customer journey optimization, and that is a little bit what you talk about, but perhaps not fully. But I think we are a few years down the road, perhaps. But we already have, for example, tools for conversion ratio optimization, CRO. So there are AI robots that can take a landing page and redesign it to maybe 10,000 times, and it measures which kind of design variation seem to improve the conversion ratio, and then it takes that as the basis for a new generation that tests something else, and then it stacks different changes on top of each other, like the kind of the evolutionary theory from Darwin. And using AI-based evolutionary design algorithms, it iterates towards a better and better performing landing page optimization. And that's the tool I'm specifically thinking about currently is also supporting multi-page funnels. But it's more about changing the design of a page rather than inventing the complete customer journey. But there are tools that do customer journey optimization, at least, perhaps not sales funnel design, but certainly customer journey optimization already. So give it 5 or 7 years, and then we will probably have more stuff. But there is one caveat here, though. these tools only work with a lot of data. And if you don't have a lot of data, they can't really test the design variations or any sort of change. So if you don't have enough data, then you can't really use these tools, because AI is very hungry for data. So it works best for companies who have a lot of traffic, because then you can do split testing, for example. But if you have a very small new website without any traffic volume, it's quite hard, because there's just too little data to analyze.
Do you think that is almost an untapped frontier, is like AI based on extremely low statistical significance or without very many data inputs?
You can cheat the system. So if you for example are an email software supplier, then you can give a new email client the data from other email clients as well. So if I purchase a new email software and I don't have too much data on my own email list, then the email supplier may know that people in New York generally wants the email at 9 o'clock in the morning, whereas people in San Francisco generally want it at a different time of the day, for example. So we can use sometimes data from other sources that may be a proxy for your own data if you don't have it. But it's obviously better if you have your own data in sufficient volumes.
So, at this point in time, right, and we're filming this April 8th, 2019. Mm-hmm. At this point in time, where do you see AI in general heading? Maybe not specifically in the marketing space, but where do you see AI heading, 10, 20, 50 years down the road in everyday life?
So we will see software systems that are self-optimizing. They will learn over time how to do a better job automatically, so self-learning. We will see a lot more personalization. So we talked about personalization in marketing. So the right person get the right message at the right time in the right channel, for example, highly personalized. But I think we can also see personalization in other parts of the society as well. I think that legislation and politicians will have to dip their feet into the water, because we cannot have such a powerful system out there without some kind of legal controls. It may be quite harmful in terms of some ethical problems if AI gets out of hand. Elon Musk of Tesla, for example, have been talking quite a lot about the dangers of AI out in the wild. So I think we will see highly efficient systems that replace a lot of repetitive work, and we will see systems now starting to replace well-educated, highly paid people. But we will also have to start to address the problem of ethics and other negative sides of using AI, perhaps.
What do you see as some of those potential, ethical issues? Like, what do you see as something that could be a problem?
So in terms of politics, for example, it has been argued that, or suggested that the Brexit referendum and also the Trump presidential election was heavily skewed by AI algorithms in terms of Facebook ads and stuff. We have, for example, already seen grocery shops sending marketing literature home to teenage girls living with the parents, suggesting they are actually pregnant. And there is this case where the father of a teenage girl was absolutely furious because the grocery chain sent ads or marketing literature home to the girl for pregnant women, because he said that she obviously wasn't pregnant, but it actually turned out that she was pregnant. And the shop actually concluded she was pregnant by monitoring the purchase patterns. What kind of foods were she buying at what frequency or cadence and stuff. And just by analyzing her food shopping behaviors, they could conclude that she was probably pregnant. Well, it can be argued that that is an ethical problem or not. Also, it may or may not be so good that the manufacturer of your GPS navigation system in your phone know exactly where you are, how often you go to the bottle shop, or other kind of insights can be concluded when you start to combine data that by themselves may be harmless. Assume, for example, that a grocery shop analyzes the data on how you spend money and what kind of foods you buy, and they conclude that your shopping behavior probably relates to a very high likelihood of you having cancer. So should then the food shop tell you that you likely will die of cancer soon, or should they tell the authorities, or what should they do? And it's kind of ethical problems for the shop owner, what to do with the insight that someone maybe is having cancer because their shopping behavior correlates to people often getting cancer.
When you were talking about AI out in the wild, what is that going to look like?
So I think for the most part, we will not see AI like human-looking robots walking around the streets. We usually talk about software solutions here, and software solutions that learn how to adapt and how to optimize themselves and do a better job, which is generally a good thing, of course. But take, for example, quite interesting use case I sometimes mention is machinery, industrial machinery. So you put sensors on the machine, so like vibration sensors and heat sensors, for example. And then we can conclude that the current heat and vibration patterns on this machine correlates to the patterns from other machines in the past who broke down 2 weeks later. So we can now conclude that this particular machine most likely will break down 2 weeks from now based on the current heat and vibration patterns. So we can then hook that insight into a marketing automation system that can start to send marketing offers to the owner of a machine, offering them spare parts or service visits in advance to actually prevent the machine from breaking down in the first place. And that is when we start to hook up internet-connected machinery to AI, and then we let those insights actually drive marketing automation logic. And that is highly realistic for the manufacturers of machines. So if you are producing machinery for the industry, when you hook up those machines to your monitoring central, and then you can start to detect when the machines you have delivered to your customers will break down. Or if you, for example, will manufacture coffee machines, you can use AI to predict when the coffee beans is running out in every particular coffee machine, and the machine can start to make independent purchase decisions and actually call to the Amazon web shop, for example, and start to buy new coffee beans autonomously without any human intervention.
So when you speak with people like me, for example, who really are not that educated on AI, not that informed, like what are the things that you know about AI that I should definitely be aware of, that I should definitely be asking you about, but I may not know enough to even know the right questions to ask you?
Yeah, I think probably the correct approach is not to ask the questions in the first place. It is the wrong question to ask, where will AI end up? Because it will end up everywhere. So it is not meaningful to ask where in marketing will we see AI, because we will see AI absolutely in every corner of marketing, and we will see it in every corner of every other industry as well. But I think we shouldn't be too scared, because generally AI today, or machine learning, is just self-optimizing algorithms that do something a little bit better, such as sending the emails at the appropriate time, individualized for each recipient. And that is not really dangerous. It's just getting a better result of a marketing campaign. But then it can be a little bit ugly if you have AI robots that starts to affect the outcome of public elections, or we get insights about people that they don't even know themselves yet.
So, Magnus, I want to thank you so much for coming on the interview today. It's truly been a pleasure, and I want to thank you for sharing this time with me so far.
And thank you for inviting me to the show as well.
Absolutely. So I just have a few more questions for you, then we'll go ahead and wrap up.
Okay.
I know we've been talking a lot about technology and automation and AI and marketing, but I want to talk about connection. because in my opinion, connection is one of the most important things on the planet. So I'm interested in understanding your philosophy on developing deep, meaningful, and genuine connection with another person.
So I think with all the automation, it is easy to be very spammy, and with marketing automation systems, you can be incredibly spammy. Since I'm a consultant in marketing automation and a trainer in marketing automation, I actually go for quite the opposite approach. And my take is that we should use marketing automation to be less spammy and send less emails, which is something that sometimes confuse people a little bit because they think marketing automation is about spamming more. But to me, we should not send any email if we cannot understand clearly why the recipient really want to receive the email. So the litmus test of sending any automated email, I think, is to check, would this recipient of this email actually want this email? And if they don't, then we shouldn't send it. So I think with automation, we need to make a better job of becoming better targeted, send the right information to the right person at the right time, and therefore also not send our stuff to start with. But I also think that with all the automation and all the digital tools for automated outreach and stuff like that, I think the old-fashioned way of talking to each other will be more important. And with AI becoming commonplace everywhere, I think there will be a backlash to some level whereby companies offering personalized service from real humans will actually be able to command a higher price. So I think that we will have shops that are completely autonomously working without any shop staff whatsoever. And they will be cost effective and have cheap products, but there will also be more expensive shops offering perhaps the same kind of products, but they have a lounge where you can drink coffee, and they have staff that are really nice to talk to, and they will be the premium level companies where people pay a little bit more for getting some personalized service. But I think in terms of marketing, since everyone now start to send, for a few years, we started to send automatically printed physical letters home to people. Hello, Mr. Jones, here is the printed letter to you. And now we do the same with email, obviously. But I think that, actually sending a manually written email, postcard or old style letter, perhaps in paper that is hand manufactured or looks old, is probably going to get a lot more attention than any automated email. So I think that we will see a kind of a little bit of a backlash whereby some companies will start to use very old traditional ways to create a unique selling point.
That's interesting. So it seems like as we move towards one extreme, some people on the more high end luxury are going to almost go back to the other extreme. That's really interesting.
And perhaps you will even buy handmade paper, which is 10 times or 100 times more expensive for one sheet of paper because it looks handmade, rather than the paper you get out of a printer automatically. So,
what is your greatest theory?
I'm sorry?
What is your greatest theory?
Oh, I actually launched the theory with my own name in my latest book. It's kind of comic or fun take on the Pareto principle. So we all know the Pareto principle, more commonly known as the 80-20 rule. I think we will not see the 80-20 rule working onwards, at least not in terms of digital business, because we will not have 20% of companies taking 80% of the income. Now with the Googles and the Amazons, we will have the Unemyr principle, which is the 1 to 99 principle, whereby 1% of the companies will take 99% of the market, because with the globalization and the first movers advantage and the scale of economics available in the digital markets, I think we will see a market whereby the large companies will get much stronger monopoly situations compared to before. So I think that sadly, I think it will be much harder for small and medium-sized companies to compete in commodity markets, like a web shop selling books or stuff like that. So you will need to invent perhaps more unique offers. You cannot compete with Amazon on selling books online, for example.
That's interesting. So do you think that that's going to almost train and help people improve? Like, do you think because it's going to be just a harder market to survive in, the ones who do survive and thrive are going to be better? Or do you think it's just going to be a monopoly and there's going to be abuse?
Well, the problem here is that previously the large companies were just larger and more powerful, but they didn't really have any other advantage except that. But now, when everything is data-driven with autonomous AI algorithms that can personalize the product recommendations much better, for example, or automatically adjust the price at different times of the day for different types of people and stuff like that, then the smaller entrants, even if they are better and have a technically better product or technically better software platform, it doesn't matter, because if you don't have a data from millions and millions and millions of past transactions and website visits, then they don't have any data to feed into their possibly better algorithms. So it doesn't matter if you have a better software platform with a better AI algorithm, because you still don't have the data from how people behave. And whoever has the most data in the future will win.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, thank you again for sharing all these insights. We've been talking a lot about your professional life, but parallel to that, what's been going on in your personal life this whole time?
So I got married last year to my wonderful wife, Anita, and we live here in the city of Jönköping, southern Sweden. It's about 1 hour's drive or 1.5 east of Gothenburg and 3.5 hours drive south of Stockholm. So it's just 3 hours from Denmark, pretty much. So we have a fairly calm life here, and we like to travel a lot. So we go to Southeast Asia a couple of times every year, and just enjoy the exotic and tropical islands.
So last question for you today. I'm 24 and I have a couple different businesses, but Project Egg is absolutely my greatest passion. What question, knowing that, what question should I be asking you, with your experience, with your knowledge, with your genius? What should I be asking you that I just wouldn't think to ask?
You mean related to AI or personal stuff, or
anything?
I think that, or perhaps that is not the question, but the answer to the question. But I would probably recommend you to keep producing content and show your personality. I think the times of corporate style websites and personality in the blog posts and stuff is gone, because people want to feel a connection to whoever they follow. So I think that keep producing good content and don't be shy to show your personality, because I think we will, as the world becomes more digital and machine driven, we will at the same time appreciate the real human touch to it more and more, I think.
Well, thank you very much. Again, I really want to thank you for coming on the show and for sharing everything that you have.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting me again. Yeah.
Absolutely. And to everybody who is watching and or listening, Magnus was gracious enough to put together a resource for you. And it's a free resource, and it's talking about marketing automation. And if you've been listening this whole time, watching this whole time, then you know that Magnus is definitely an expert here. And there are a lot of things that may not be may not be so easy to grasp without somebody who's in the field and truly an expert presenting it in a way that's a little more palatable, a little bit easier to negotiate. I think of myself as a smart person, and this stuff can get really complicated. So, for somebody like Magnus to really break it down step by step and almost take us by the hand and lead us through this, that's very helpful. So this resource is something that I'm very grateful that you put together. Do you want to talk a little bit about it, and then we'll tell them how to get it at the end?
Sure. So today we have been talking mostly about really advanced stuff like AI in marketing and AI technologies, for example. But the truth is that most small and medium-sized companies aren't there yet, and most small and medium-sized companies use or should use traditional marketing automation first before worrying about AI. And so I have produced this this guide, the marketing automation success formula, which can be downloaded for free from unemyr.com/formula. And by downloading that book, you get the most important steps in starting to use marketing automation in a successful way, even using very low-cost tools that you can get for example, $50 a month and upwards if you're a solo entrepreneur. So you don't really need to dig too much deep into the AI stuff. You can do a lot of really powerful things at a lot easier level, I think. unemyr.com/formula. Yeah.
And that's UNEMYR, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely sure. Okay. And then, for whatever reason, that link isn't working for y'all, you can always go to projectegg.co/Unemyr, right? UNEMYR. So thank you very much, Magnus, for coming on the show. I really do appreciate it. To everybody who's listening, thank y'all. I really appreciate the support. Appreciate you sticking with us this whole time. Go and grab that freebie. Seriously, it's going to be awesome. So thank you. Hope you have a great day. Let's change the world.